So this is about water pollution, and in there are 2 points that I missed. One is in water pollution, that is the pollution due to shipwreck. The pollution due to shipwreck. So water pollution due to oil spills. So this has a local and international example as well, and I need you to look it up and then write your notes accordingly, because examples are needed. They might ask you sometimes for example. So water oil spill due to water pollution due to oil spills. So this is Exxon Valdez was a super oil tanker that leaked crude oil into the sea, crude oil into the ocean actually. So please look it up. I think it happened in 1988 or 89. So look that up. Then British Petroleum oil well damage of the coast of Florida. So again, look that up. And what happens is, oil is a thick black liquid, so when it spills and rises to the surface, or if it's released or leaks from oil tankers, what happens is it covers the entire water body and prevents sunlight from reaching plants or submerged plants or any aquatic animals below. And it also causes fish and other marine life to get stuck into it, because even seagulls and birds, you'll see when you see videos, if you search in YouTube, you can find the videos. They're actually stuck in the oil because oil is very thick. It's not viscous or anything, so they get stuck and then they actually die very painful death. So these are international examples. Local example we can give is oil spill. Again, you can search this up. Oil spill in Poshur River, Poshur Nodi bole etake, Poshur River in the Sundarbans. In the Sundarbans area. Sundarbans mangrove forest. So oil spill occurred from an oil boat that carries oil locally for the power plants over there. So that's a spill. So this is about water pollution due to oil spill. And now we look at another subtopic, which is conservation. So what is the meaning of conservation and why do we actually need? All these are actually discussion. This chapter is based on discussions only. So we talk about conservation. So what exactly is conservation? So conservation is the restoration or protection of a particular area and keep it in a healthy condition. So the protection of, example, the protection of nature, example, protection of nature. Then you have controlled production of useful material, controlled production of useful material. So controlled production of useful material, and we do that because we are actually damaging or destroying these particular habitats of organisms, and we're destroying, we're polluting their environment, we are hunting them indiscriminately. So that's the reason why we have to conserve or undergo conservation, because if we don't, somehow or the other we are indirectly dependent on them. Yeah, I might not have any relation with the Siberian tiger, for example, because it's so far away, but it's not affecting me. However, it is affecting the local community, if it is affecting human populations indirectly. So there are a lot of reasons why you need to conserve, and I'm not only talking about animals, we're talking about plants as well. So plants such as medicinal plants, some plants act as natural herbicides as well, or natural pesticides as well. So and obviously some fruits and plants are for local communities to provide food and nutrition to them. So if those species are becoming extinct and lost, so that becomes a problem. So why do you have to conserve? So this is conservation. Why do we need to conserve species? The need for conservation. So next thing is the need for conservation. So why do we need to conserve? Well, there are a lot of reasons. Number one is of ecological importance. You just jot these down: ecological importance. And what this is each species has a role or a function to perform in a particular environment. And as we have discussed earlier in this chapter, we have food chain and complex food webs. So everything is interlinked. You hamper one, or one species dies, it affects the food chain above it, because that particular species is dependent on the lower species or lower trophic levels for food. So of ecological importance, we need to conserve. For economic importance, because some plants are, as I said, they're used for economic purposes. They're used for as medicinal drugs. So specifically in the rainforests, tropical rainforest, plants in tropical rainforests are used as medicines, for food, for natural insecticides, etc. Indigenous community or indigenous people actually use these type of substances to hunt, because they poison their tips of their arrows, and they use that for hunting. So if these are destroyed because of our interference, human interference, so this becomes a problem. Economic importance, so raw materials, so they can be used, or starting material for a lot of different products. Raw materials, they can be used for medicinal drugs, as I said, medicinal drugs, homeopathic medicine, and healers and all, they use that. Chemicals that repel insects, chemicals that repels insects. and scientific importance, and also for aesthetic importance. So this is very important. Aesthetic importance. দেখতে সুন্দর লাগে, দেখতে ম্যাজেস্টিক লাগে। সো এরকম অনেক কিছুই আছে। For scientific importance or scientific purposes, we can use different organisms for selective breeding to our advantage. We use it in horticulture for producing different breeds of flowers and flowering plants, and in the animals we do selective breeding. For aesthetic importance is dekhte sundor lage, flowers, garden full of flowers, different colors, different patterns, different varieties of flowers. And then you have, for example, if we talk about animals, conservation of tigers and lions, just because they're so majestic, they're so nice to look at. This is the reason why we involve, or why we have safari parks, and this is basically aesthetic importance. We maintain it by ecotourism. So you have, I was fortunate enough to go to Kenya and notice this firsthand, experience this firsthand. So ecotourism, the safaris that they have, and they're in their natural environment, the animals eating and hunting and all this, and you get to watch it from far away. And so that's the thing, that's the nature. We are all organisms that belong to this earth. Everyone has a right to live, each and every organism, except maybe mosquitoes and cockroaches. I know some of you guys are afraid of cockroaches, but they have been here longer than we have, and they have survived, or they can actually, they did survive the last extinction period, and they can also survive nuclear wars or nuclear blasts. So anyways, so this is the reason why we have to have conservation. This is just a briefing. If you need to know more, you can watch videos on YouTube, and I'll try to include videos wherever is possible to help better explain things here. So far this is about conservation. Next, what we discuss is about recycling and the importance of recycling.
Biodiversity represents everything that lives on Earth. It is the fruit of billions of years of evolution, shaped by natural processes and increasingly by the influence of humans. So far, about 1.75 million species have been identified, but scientists believe there could be 13 million species living on our planet. Biodiversity is life. It heals us, as more than 70,000 plant and tree species on Earth are used in medicine. It gives us shelter. Without wood, we couldn't build houses, furniture, or tools. Biodiversity feeds us and clothes us. The consumption patterns of people in rich countries are the principal cause of biodiversity loss. The rapid loss of the Earth's species is estimated to be between 1,000 and 10,000 times higher than the natural extinction rate. Today, our planet hosts 7 billion people. We need to preserve biodiversity so that it can meet the needs of 9 billion of us in 2050. The UN Convention on Biological Diversity aims to provide a framework to address the promotion and protection of biodiversity as a source of goods and services essential to life. The effect of human activities magnified in recent years by population growth and global climate change has greatly reduced biodiversity in ecosystems around the world. One way each of us can contribute to foster biodiversity is to choose a more sustainable lifestyle. Education can help us recognise that our individual actions, as harmless as they can appear, can have global ramifications. We need to learn that we are all part of a web of life. When one species disappears, others are at risk of disappearing as a result. We need to empower our children and youth today to help foster biodiversity tomorrow. But how? Let's take the example of a group of secondary students that goes to observe what remains of the forest in a protected area. After learning firsthand about the importance of forests, students discuss the reasons for deforestation and its effects on the livelihoods of communities, as well as on climate and other natural hazards. They then develop a list of simple actions to help restore the forest and better manage it through actions they can take at school and at home. To communicate these actions to other schools and within the community, they animate a community radio program to encourage replanting trees and other plants in their area. During community festivities, they organise role-playing activities to raise awareness of the various aspects of preservation, as well as the use and promotion of the resources within protected areas. Protecting our planet is in our hands, and it is education that can help us act today.
What is ecotourism? Ecotourism is a term used to describe travel to areas where active steps are taken to conserve and protect the environment and improve the economic and social well-being of local people. Ecotourism can be found in many different parts of the world. This term is often used in relation to tourist visits to natural environments, such as rainforests. It can also be applied to managed or man-made environments, such as urban areas. There are three key principles to ecotourism. The first key principle is to involve local communities in the development of ecotourism. It is important that communities maintain control over the level and kind of tourism they want in their land. Money from tourism projects should be invested in the communities who are hosting tourists rather than just to operators based outside the area. Infrastructure projects that are built to serve and encourage tourism, such as new facilities, accommodation, roads or electricity, should also be built to benefit local communities as well as visitors. The second principle is to reduce the negative impact on the environment. Ecotourism often involves visits to remote and environmentally sensitive natural areas such as forests, dunes or glacial areas. Visitors undertaking these trips should try to make sure that they follow any rules regarding litter and wildlife disturbance, and ensure that personal use of resources such as water is sustainable. Venues that host ecotourism activities, such as hotels and restaurants, should ensure sustainable practices such as using renewable energy and minimising waste. The third principle is to respect the rights of local people. Many tourists visit a location in order to learn about local cultures and traditions. The people with the greatest knowledge about a destination are the people who actually live there, and ecotourism ventures should be managed by local communities using their experiences and expertise to promote local cultures and traditions.
So now we are going to start with recycling and the need to recycle and what we actually recycle. So recycling, it's reusing materials because our resources are infinite. uh, it's finite. So resources are finite, they're not infinite, so we need to recycle uh, uh, as much as possible. Growing human population causes demand of resources everywhere, so the more we use resources again and again, the better that we have, or better chances of survival or of that particular community. So recycling is actually involves recovering of, so recycling is the recovery of used materials and reuse them for other purposes. So for example, paper obviously is recycled these days, and we use recycling processes for glass. Glass can be recycled. Aluminum cans or tin or aluminum can be recycled, or other metal objects can be recycled. The reasons for recycling are the reasons for recycling are A, to conserve natural resources, to conserve natural resources like water. Water কিন্তু recycle করা লাগে because fresh water is just 2%. This is what we in Bangladesh take for granted, fresh water. People around the world, they actually suffer from this problem. 98% of the world's ocean is salty or salty water, so 2% is only fresh. So we need to conserve natural resources like water, forests and metal. Water, forests and metals. So we cannot cause deforestation due to production of paper, and then that paper is used for newspaper printing for our daily lives. So we can do a lot of things online, or a lot of things in our computers in soft copies, or use the internet actually. So we can use we can rely less on paper. So to conserve natural resources, to save energy, obviously a lot of energy is wasted over there, and most importantly, to reduce the problem of waste disposal. To reduce the problem of waste disposal. A lot of waste is disposed, and we have to have a system of disposing this waste. So if you are less dependent, if you are reading your newspaper online and not buying physical paper, so after you buy a physical paper, you stack it up, and then at the end of a month or 6 months or something like this, particular period, you sell it off to people who come and collect it, or you just throw it away. So that becomes a waste disposal problem, because that needs to be disposed of properly, or they need to be recycled. So if you have less dependency on reading newspapers and just see from or read online newspapers, so that solves a lot of problem. Recycling conserves natural resources, obviously, and forests and other natural resources that are vanishing rapidly, they are stopped from being the trees are being stopped from being cut, and forests are stopped from being cleared. You have metals which are non-renewable resources. So as I said, there is a finite amount that is there. So resources are finite, especially metals, so that metals can be used up again and again. Recycling just reduces the problem of waste disposal. Disposal of garbage is a serious problem. Today, garbage is normally burned in incinerators or buried in landfills. So if we reduce the amount of garbage, that reduces everything. Recycling saves energy. Recycling saves a lot of energy. For example, it is much cheaper to use scrap iron to make steel than to mine the iron ore and extract it. So iron যেটা আমরা ইউজ করি, সেটা হচ্ছে যে স্ক্র্যাপ আয়রন, যেটা ফর এক্সাম্পল নতুন শিপ বানাতে যে পুরনো শিপ যেগুলো আছে, ওগুলোকে আমাদের কক্সবাজার, we have a very ship breaking yard. So ship is breaking, large tankers and large ships are broken down and formed into something called billets, and from there iron is extracted, and that is used to make rods for construction purposes and all that. So you are actually recycling all this. And the recycling not only conserves the material that is being recycled, it also conserves fossil fuels like coal and petroleum, which are used to supply energy in the most industrial processes. Cutting down the amount of fossil fuels used is important for the following reasons. So fossil fuels, cut down করলে যেটা হয়, fossil fuels are not renewable, so once it's burned, it's combusted, it goes up into the atmosphere, causes problems with the greenhouse effect and all that. Its supply is dwindling rapidly because you have to extract it from the beneath the earth's surface and then undergo fractional distillation to produce a lot of different fractions. It is also a very major cause of pollution. So these are the reasons for recycling and all this. And if you want to write about recycling examples, we can write recycling examples, and we don't have to study this in detail about the processes that are involved. So just 3 things to discuss and then end. What the 3 things are: recycling of paper, or use alternative source such as online newspaper or PDF of books. So recycling of paper, recycling of aluminum cans used in the beverage industry, recycling of for various purposes. So these are some of the things that are recycled. So I hope you have understood today's lecture and what I wanted to the message that I wanted to convey and the things that I wanted to teach. If you have any problems, like always, please knock me in my Facebook Messenger group, or you can contact me via any social media, or just simply text me. We have come to the end of chapter 15 of Cambridge O-level biology syllabus. The syllabus code is 5090. Specifically I mentioned because chapters may vary in 0610 or any other codes. So this is the end of the chapter. Hopefully by the time you will be seeing this, the situation in the country would have improved from the COVID-19. If it hasn't, please stay safe, stay at home. This is the only way we can prevent the spread of this virus. I'm going to assess the situation, or I would have already assessed the situation by now. If the situation hasn't improved, I'll be making videos again of chapter 16, which is reproduction in flowering plants and reproduction in mammals. So till then, please complete your booklet 6 that I have given you of chapter 14 and 15, both MCQs as well as structured questions. Structured questions we'll have time to discuss later on, but we'll discuss the MCQs first. So this is the end of the chapter. Thank you so much for being with me, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you. Cheers. Cut.